in our city who's not white in Portland?
I can't think of anyone specific.
You can't think of anyone specific. Interesting. So we don't know very many not white people. We don't associate with very many people who aren't white. Most of the people we relate to and connect with are you would consider white. Interesting. What you're about to see is a conversation I had with my son about white supremacy. It's definitely awkward at points. It's far from perfect. I'm not holding this up as the way that every parent should talk to their kids about white supremacy. I'm just saying this is the way that I do talk to my kids about white supremacy, and maybe it'll be useful to you. Okay, so white people took over a lot of places.
And put down everyone else, like there used to be Native Americans living all over America. Native Americans had it all, but then they came in and killed them and took their land from them.
Did you know that when Oregon was first founded as a state that you could only move here if you were white?
Really?
Yeah, you couldn't move here if you were a person of color. So can you give me some examples of ways where people of color are pushed down by white supremacy?
Like for a long time, people of color couldn't vote. Like for a long time, they like had less privileges than us. They couldn't do the same things as us. They couldn't vote and everything like that.
For a long time? So do they now have all the same privileges as us, do you think?
I mean, I think they technically do, but still don't think it always, I don't know if it always feels like it to them.
Poutine. Have you heard it at school called white supremacy before?
It may have been mentioned once in some studies, but not really.
Do they talk about racism more?
Huh? Races?
Racism.
Nope.
They don't talk about racism at school?
It's not yet.
You mentioned that you think that people of color have a different experience with the police, for example, because of racist cops. Do you think that racism is something that only certain people are racist?
Yes, I think only certain people are racist. I mean, well, I think you're kind of racist depending on who you are around and who you grow up with.
So racism is something that you think or feel?
Yes.
Do I have to intend to hurt you in order to be able to hurt you?
No.
How can I hurt you without intending to hurt you?
You can accidentally say something rude. See, that's the thing. Sometimes people can like think or act in a way that can seem racist, even though they don't think themselves racist or don't mean to. It's just kind of how they've grown.
You know how we say that? We say intent isn't magic. Intent isn't magic. That means that, like, just because you don't intend to hurt someone doesn't mean that you don't hurt them. You can intend good and still do bad. And the other way we can say that is we can say that impact matters more than intent. Like, the way we affect people matters more than what we intended to do to affect them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If white supremacy is something that can affect us even if we don't want to be white supremacists, even if we don't think of ourselves as being white supremacists. I'm just thinking about stuff that you get to experience and have that maybe not everyone in the world gets to experience or have.
A car, also like cell phones and things.
Cell phones, things like that. And why do you get to have those things?
Because we have more money than other people. Like certain countries are wealthier, have more money than other countries. So some people in the less wealthy countries don't get paid as much because they can't pay them as much.
We live in a rich country, right?
Yeah.
We live in America. We live in one of the rich countries, right? And America got rich partially by taking things from other people. We already talked about like the Native Americans.
Yep.
Also, another part of the way America got rich was by we got free labor, right?
Yeah.
Were we just listening to something that we were just talking about that?
Yes. Where Thomas Jefferson was saying why they were talking about a bank of sorts, and Thomas Jefferson is like, why should we pay, like, we plant the seeds and things like that, why should we have to do all these other things that aren't our fault? And then Hamilton said that you don't actually plant the seeds, you have slaves, you have labor people who you took against their will to plant those seeds for you.
So they planted the seeds in land that they stole, used labor, which they were stealing, slavery, right? There, and that's how they got rich. And that's how many of much of the wealth in our country was generated. And who did our country give that wealth to?
The white people.
White people. White supremacy.
White supremacy.
Then what do you think that means for us? What do you think that means that our responsibility is?
To try to change that? Like, pay back a bunch of people for doing labor for us in the early America.
Do you know that there's a word for that? They call that reparations. Reparations means the idea that people are owed economic recompense, payback, for crimes that were committed against them in the past, or their ancestors in the past. So some people say because we had a black president, that means that racism is dead and it doesn't exist anymore. What do you think about that?
That's stupid and not true.
Whiteness is a constructed identity. Do you know what that means?
No.
Means that it's something that we socially agree upon, but isn't like based in biology. It isn't based in like a fact about human beings. 150 years ago, Italian wasn't considered white. Polish wasn't considered white. Irish wasn't considered white. You know, people of different national groups and ethnicities weren't considered to be white. But now, all of those people would be considered white in our culture. And what's white in our culture is different than what's white in other cultures there. So white isn't one thing, it's like a thing that changes over time. And how it changes is depends upon what's useful to the people who are powerful for how they can control people. So if it was useful to them for Italians to be white, then Italians were white. But if it was better for them to exclude Italians, then they excluded Italians from being white. So it's all about what's useful at different times.